What if you could reduce how much insulin your body needs by nearly 30%, without cutting calories, without strict portion control, without expensive medication changes? A brand new study published just 2 days ago says it's possible. And the method is simpler than you think. Researchers found that people with type 1 diabetes who switched to a specific diet reduced their insulin use by nearly 30%. That's not a small number. That's life-changing for millions of people who depend on insulin every single day. But here's what makes this even more interesting. This diet didn't just help diabetics. The same principles behind this finding apply to every single person watching this video right now. Because insulin isn't just a diabetic problem. Insulin is everybody's problem. Let me explain. Every time you eat, your pancreas releases insulin. Insulin is the hormone that takes sugar from your bloodstream and delivers it into your cells for energy. Without insulin, sugar just sits in your blood, causing damage to your arteries, your kidneys, your eyes, your nerves. In type 1 diabetes, the pancreas doesn't make insulin at all. So people with this condition have to inject it manually, every meal, every day, for the rest of their lives. The amount of insulin they need depends directly on what they eat. Eat a high-carb, high-sugar meal? You need a lot of insulin to handle that blood sugar spike. Eat something that doesn't spike blood sugar as dramatically? You need less. But what this new study found goes way beyond just eating fewer carbs. The diet they tested was a low-fat vegan diet. No meat, no dairy, no eggs, just plant foods. And crucially, they did not restrict calories or carbohydrates. Participants could eat as much as they wanted. They just ate only whole plant foods. And the results? A nearly 30% reduction in insulin requirements. Published in BMC Nutrition, February 13, 2026. Now, before you say, "I'm not going vegan," hear me out. Because this isn't really about veganism. This is about understanding why this diet worked. And once you understand the mechanism, you can apply these principles without going fully plant-based. So why does a low-fat plant-based diet reduce insulin needs so dramatically? Reason number one, it removes saturated fat. This is the big one that most people don't know about. Here's something that will shock you. Fat, specifically saturated fat from animal products, directly interferes with insulin's ability to work properly. Scientists call this fat-induced insulin resistance. When you eat a high-fat meal, especially one high in saturated fat, the fat molecules get into your muscle cells and literally block insulin's ability to deliver glucose. Your cells become resistant to insulin's signal. So your pancreas has to pump out more and more insulin just to do the same job. Remove the saturated fat? Insulin starts working more efficiently. Your cells respond to it better. You need less of it. Reason number two, fiber. A whole food plant diet is loaded with fiber, and fiber does something remarkable for blood sugar control. When you eat fiber alongside carbohydrates, the fiber slows down how quickly those carbohydrates are digested and absorbed. Instead of a massive blood sugar spike that demands a huge insulin response, you get a slow, gradual rise, much easier to manage, much less insulin required. The average person eating a typical Western diet gets about 15 grams of fiber per day. The recommended amount is 25 to 38 grams. People eating whole food plant diets often get 50 to 80 grams per day. That's a massive difference in blood sugar management. Reason number three, the gut microbiome. Again, we keep coming back to this. Whole plant foods feed beneficial gut bacteria, and those bacteria produce compounds called short-chain fatty acids that directly improve insulin sensitivity. When your gut microbiome is healthy and diverse, your cells respond better to insulin across your entire body. When your gut microbiome is damaged from ultra-processed foods, antibiotics, or lack of fiber, insulin sensitivity drops. You need more insulin to do the same job. Reason number four, body composition. Plant-based whole food diets are naturally lower in calorie density. Even when people eat until they're full, they tend to consume fewer total calories. And even modest reductions in body fat, especially visceral fat, the dangerous fat around your organs, dramatically improve insulin sensitivity. Even a 5 to 10% reduction in body weight can cut insulin resistance by 50% or more in people with type 2 diabetes. The effect on type 1 diabetes is less dramatic, but still significant. Now here's what I really want you to understand. This study focused on people with type 1 diabetes, but the principles apply to everyone. Because nearly 40% of American adults have prediabetes or insulin resistance right now, and most of them have no idea. Insulin resistance doesn't always show up as diabetes. It shows up as stubborn belly fat that won't go away no matter what you do. It shows up as energy crashes after meals. It shows up as constant sugar cravings. It shows up as brain fog. It shows up as high blood pressure and elevated triglycerides. Sound familiar? If any of those symptoms sound like you, your insulin sensitivity might be lower than it should be. And what you eat every single day is either making it better or making it worse. So what can you actually do based on this research? Because I know most of you aren't going to go fully plant-based tomorrow. And that's okay. You don't have to. Here's what the science is actually telling us to do. Step 1. Reduce saturated fat. This means eating less fatty red meat, less full-fat dairy, less butter, less processed meat like bacon and sausage. You don't have to eliminate these foods, but reducing them significantly makes a real difference to your insulin sensitivity. Step 2. Dramatically increase fiber. Every meal should have vegetables. Every meal. Not as an afterthought on the side of your plate, as a main component. Aim for 30 or more grams of fiber per day. Beans, lentils, vegetables, whole grains, fruits, nuts, and seeds. Step 3. Swap refined carbs for whole food carbs. White bread, white rice, white pasta, sugary cereals. These spike blood sugar fast and demand a big insulin response. Swap them for whole grains, legumes, and root vegetables that release their carbohydrates slowly. Step 4. Add more plants even if you're not going plant-based. You don't have to go vegan to get the benefits of eating more plants. Just more. More vegetables, more beans, more lentils, more whole fruits, more nuts, more seeds. Step 5. Eat in a way that supports your gut microbiome. More fermented foods, more diverse plant foods, less ultra-processed food, less sugar, less artificial sweeteners that kill beneficial gut bacteria. Here's the bigger picture I want you to take away from this. Insulin resistance is at the root of so many of the chronic diseases killing people in the modern world. Heart disease, type 2 diabetes, fatty liver disease, polycystic ovary syndrome, certain cancers, Alzheimer's disease, which some researchers are now calling type 3 diabetes because of how strongly insulin resistance affects the brain. If you can improve your insulin sensitivity through diet, you're not just managing blood sugar. You're reducing your risk of all of these conditions simultaneously. That's the power of food as medicine. That's why this research matters for everyone, not just diabetics. Your body is trying to maintain balance every single day. Every meal you eat either helps it do that or makes it harder. A 30% reduction in insulin requirements from a dietary change alone. That's not a drug. That's not a supplement. That's food. Think about what that means. Share this with someone managing diabetes or blood sugar issues. This information could genuinely change their life. See you in the next one.